Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out another episode of the Aaron Advantage podcast. Today, I have a return guest, Amy Payne with Lasting Order, Certified Professional Organizing.
Yes, sir.
Organizing your life for life.
Impressive.
I remembered the tagline. So, Amy, thanks so much for coming in again.
Thanks.
I know the last time I had you in, we were in a different location, different format, all kinds of different stuff going on. So, it's nice to have you in the studio for a change.
Thank you. It's so fancy in here.
Thank you very much. We aim to please as best we can. I really wanted to bring you in today specifically to talk about a topic that I think that has become more important over the last couple of years because we have way more people who are working from home and trying to mix their business and their personal lives together, and that has caused some problems in their organizational life. So today's topic I wanted to touch on is digital organization, and I know that you specialize in all kinds of organizing, so I wanted to give you the floor to just say, hey, where do we even start this conversation? Because it's a broad topic.
That is a huge topic, but we'll try to keep it shorter. So digital organizing, definitely people are working from home, which even if they're not working from home, more and more companies are going to more of a nomad type atmosphere where you have less office space, people are working from their homes, coffee shops, etc. So digital organization is more and more important as we go through life, as we go through work. So I know you and I both, we can pick up and work from anywhere we want to.
My entire business is right here on my laptop. Exactly. Doesn't matter where I plug it in. As long as I've got a Wi-Fi signal, I can operate everything that I do.
Exactly. I often joke that if my laptop, iPad, and phone all simultaneously exploded, I would be totally fine. Absolutely. All I have to do is buy a new device and log in.
Connected to the cloud, ready to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, everything is so big and so overwhelming. I think one of the most important things that we both already talked about is we can get on anything, anywhere in the cloud. Email is something that I know that people struggle with immensely. I give my realtor friends a hard time all the time because I'll look at their notifications on their iPhone and it's like 2,000 unread emails, or like the worst I've ever seen, 60-something thousand unread emails. And I'm just like, what are you doing with your life?
It's scary. It's very scary. I'm not going to lie. Now, I give them a little bit of grace if they have like their junk mail synced to their phone.
Right.
But if it's actual like work email or personal email, I'm like, okay, we need to fix this. Yes. We need to work on this. 100%. There's no reason for that. So if you're not reading your email, why? Why aren't you reading it? Either you don't need it, or you're just not managing things. You're missing things. So if you don't need it, you should just get rid of it.
Unsubscribe, delete, do something.
Unsubscribe. I mean, I have a trick that I use with clients that have like the 60,000 unread. I'm like, okay, let's just start from scratch, right?
Nice.
Well, how do you start from scratch in your email account without deleting things that you actually need? So I create a to be organized folder.
Ooh.
Or an archive folder. And I take every single email from the inbox and just drag it in there. And it gives you a complete and total fresh start in your inbox. Then you just search for things that you really need, or you go back in and poke around and look for what you need, pull it back out to your inbox if it's something you actually need.
That's genius.
And then as you get those emails in that you really don't want, not only unsubscribe, but search your email for everything that came from that email address and bulk delete.
Check you out.
These
are tactics I can start utilizing tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's like hundreds or thousands of emails at a time, especially if they're on the Kohl's email list. I mean, come on. I love Kohl's, but do we really need 4 emails a day? Come
on. I can't tell you. And the worst part is people give their email address out to all these places all the time without even thinking about it, and not even realizing, I'm signing up for an email newsletter, and I get hundreds of emails every day, and I never even think to unsubscribe because I'm always like, there might be something there I want to see. But maybe I should do is just filter it all out to a separate inbox.
It's that just in case philosophy. That gets you every time.
That just in case philosophy has kept my inbox pretty full, and I haven't really utilized any of those in some time.
Right. So first of all, set up different email addresses. And that kind of goes against some organizing principles, but I like to have different buckets for different types of emails. So I've got a junk email address. That's what I give to everybody when I know I'm just signing up to win something, or like I'm shopping for a car. when you're shopping for a car and you're going to get a bunch of emails, you just give them your junk email address.
Nice.
You look for what you need, get rid of the rest, and if more pour in, who cares, right? It's not that big of a deal. Then make sure you've separated personal from business. Now, this can get difficult when you're friends with your business associates, right?
Yes, it can.
But often I'm like, hey, send me that, bridal shower information to my personal email, will you? Because I'm trying to keep my business email my business and my personal email my personal. So a lot of times I will write back nicely to somebody and be like, hey, do you mind use my other email address for that?
That's smart. Yeah. And I do the same thing. So I have obviously my business email, which is set up for all of the stuff that's incoming appointments, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then I've got a Gmail account that honestly I hardly ever even look at. And that's my junk spot.
Right.
That's my stores. That's all the other stuff.
Right.
And I just have to do the same thing, or I would never climb out of the deep dark hole that is my daily inbox count.
So I liken your email inbox to your mailbox that's like on the street. Would you ever go get your mail, open it, and shove it back in the mailbox? I mean, but that's what people do with their email every day. They open it, maybe read it, maybe don't read it, maybe it's junk. They don't care. They just shove it all back in the inbox.
With that analogy, that's I never thought of it that way, but that is the perfect analogy to maybe tell people to stop doing those things.
You should always have some sort of a temporary holding place for those items until you're done with them. If that's a folder, David Allen's Getting Things Done philosophy, there's a lot, he has like a folder structure in your email,
right?
Like waiting for, orders I've placed, to read, to do, and then you just dump those, to-dos. A lot of times your inbox becomes your to-do list. And so I would recommend that you have some sort of a to-do list that's digital, that's not your email inbox.
I like that.
If you're using Outlook, you can easily flag emails to make them into a task and then file them away in a separate folder, so it's not just sitting there in your inbox.
Yeah, I'm on the G Suite product for my business, the FC Tucker MG business. We're all on Google services and everything, and I love the fact that you can customize not only all the folders where I have everything, where I move, like every individual listing has its own folder, every buyer has their own folder, but I've also set up separate inboxes because I also manage our office where it'll come in and say, here's my audit files, which is my, hey, I need to go check these before closing. Here's my, hey, I need you to sign these for the management signature. And then I have an inbox where it's like, hey, these are my actual appointments and things coming in. Yeah. And that has been a game changer for me.
Yeah, those are awesome. That's like next level though. So I usually keep it pretty basic because I'm dealing with the 60,000 unread in the inbox.
That is fair. That is absolutely fair. So another thing I think that people are probably dealing with now that they're working from home, if they're anything like me, and I walk into my office every day and it's just littered with Post-it notes, because as I get a call, I write something down, I stick it on my desk. I've gotten better because I've got a new device called a Remarkable where I can put all my notes on that, and that has helped out tremendously. But what about the people who haven't upgraded to the new technology, who are just dealing with the, where did I put that stuff?
Right. Again, have a system, somewhere that you're capturing your to-dos. That way you can take those Post-its at the end of the day, put them into your computer, into your system, or maybe not write it on a Post-it to begin with, whichever. Some people are kind of paper, some people are very digital, some are a mix, a hybrid. I tend to be a hybrid mix myself. I love all things technology. I have all the tech systems and I use them all, but I also like to write with pen on paper. So a lot of times I'll write my notes down, which that's where Remarkable would come in.
And that's why I switched to that. 'Cause that was something, because I like that tactile feeling of writing something down. And it gives you that connection that, if I write it down, I've got it committed to memory.
Exactly.
So I have, like you, I have all the technology. I use my reminders on my phone and on my computer and everything else. But just knowing that I've written it down makes a huge difference.
Yes. So those of us that don't have the Remarkable, I love Evernote. So I scan in all of my notes. Actually, we use Dropbox for that as well.
Okay.
So all of our client notes and files and all that stuff goes into Dropbox. I get everything out of my email. It goes into our CRM system, which is Customer Relationship Management, for those of you who may not know. And so I highly recommend CRM systems for businesses.
100% me too.
So your emails, your tasks, your notes, everything gets put into your CRM. But then what do you do still with like your old school paper files?
Right.
So we scan them into Dropbox and then we link them into our CRM.
Nice.
And that way I can have the tactile writing on paper, but still scan it in and keep it digitally.
Perfect.
Get rid of the paper.
You just mentioned Evernote, and I don't know how many people know what Evernote is. I know it's one of those things that it can do so many things. Why don't you give us the basic overview? Because I don't want to overwhelm anybody, because I tend to do that with the tech stuff that I do.
So for those of you who don't know, Evernote is basically a note-taking app. Yours truly is actually an Evernote certified expert. So if you need help with Evernote, give me a call.
There you go.
I'll be happy to geek out with you about all the details.
It's amazing. I've heard her speak on Evernote and the things it can do, and it's awesome.
They keep adding amazing features too. So now you can actually connect your Google Calendar, and with one click you can start meeting notes based on that meeting that you had. It's got task management now, where you can actually assign tasks to other people, whether they use Evernote or not. You can scan stuff in. Basically, the gist of it is, instead of a file folder structure on your computer where it's a folder inside of a folder inside of a folder, it's notes and notebooks, and then you can stack your notebooks to organize them. But the basic thing about Evernote is you can search. So if I took a picture of you and there's a word on the wall behind your head and I search for that word, it's going to find that word in the photo that I took, or in the scanned document, in handwriting even. So you can find anything that you're looking for.
That's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. I love it. I get very excited about Evernote.
So let's say you have all these files, and people working from home or working in that nomad life structure, they're probably using one computer for both business and personal.
Right.
How do you keep those things kind of like separate? How do you make sure that you're not just intermingling your stuff all the time and losing it all?
The very first thing would be to just keep them separate. So either a folder structure that starts with business and personal as the two main folders, or I actually have a client I've been working with where we have all of her business stuff is in Dropbox and all of her personal stuff is in iCloud. Ooh. And that way we can completely separate, and she doesn't need quite as much storage on each.
Nice.
So everything is totally separated. Everything is synced to her iMac or her MacBook, so that it looks the same as your folder structure. It's just living somewhere slightly different. Then you can sync, at least with Dropbox, you can sync which items you want to permanently live in the cloud versus living on the computer. So it takes up a lot less space on your computer as well.
Nice. Now you've thrown a couple things out there with two different cloud storage systems.
Yes.
You got Dropbox, you got iCloud. I know there's Google Drive, there's Evernote,
there's Box, there's all the things.
Hundreds of things that are out there. What's the benefit of cloud storage versus hard storage on your computer, and what are the kind of the pitfalls? So
if your computer explodes, you lose everything if it's not backed up some way. Huh. Now, the IT guys love them. They're big on security, file security. Personally, I don't have anything that's like HIPAA, and I don't have anything that needs to be super secured, so I trust things like Dropbox, iCloud, Google Drive.
Yeah.
The basics, to me, if they're that large of a company, they've been in business that long, they've got to have some kind of security in place, and you can research and find out exactly what security they have, but you don't need necessarily a vault.
Right.
If you're dealing with documents and things that really require a lot more security than that, you may want to keep them more local on your computer and then use a service like Carbonite to back them up.
Yeah.
To where if your computer exploded, you could actually restore all those files.
Yeah, like large corporations are going to have their own internal servers where they're holding that stuff, but most people day to day aren't going to need a server where they're
for your everyday Joe like you and I, a good Dropbox, iCloud, or Google Drive would work just fine. So
now you mentioned Box and all these others. Are there any cloud services that you know of that you just don't recommend? And you can say no because
you're asking me mean things.
I like to put people on the spot. I don't want to put people in a position where they can just easily get away without saying something.
Okay. Personally, I hate OneDrive. Hate it.
I'm not a fan either.
I'm not a big fan of a lot of the Microsoft applications for that sort of thing.
Right.
not a fan of OneDrive. I just had a lot of issues syncing where files disappeared.
Yeah. And see, I think that's an important thing for people to know because it's so integrated directly into most people's computers that Microsoft's like, hey, use OneDrive, do all this stuff. That's exactly what my thought was too. I think Google Drive, iCloud, all of these services, Dropbox are so much simpler to use, so much less buggy, and just why would you not want to utilize something that's going to work for you every time you got to use it?
Personally, Dropbox is my favorite. I do use Google Drive a lot because I find in sharing with people, almost everybody has some sort of a Google account, so it makes it easier where if you're using Dropbox and they don't have Dropbox, it's a little bit harder. Yeah. So I do use both. I try to make sure that I have very distinct purposes for each cloud service that I use.
Perfect.
I don't just let my files go willy-nilly all through 3 different services. I try to make sure that very specific, and then if I have to copy a folder that I have on Dropbox to Google Drive to share it, when I'm done with that project, I try to get it off of there, put it back in Dropbox where it belongs.
Nice. I like that. So we're talking a lot about business kind of stuff here and, files and all these emails and stuff. Let's talk about something that people don't even realize could to potentially become some digital organization things that they could do. They're old home videos. They're old family photos.
Yes.
Those things don't last forever. Yet they start to degrade over time. And I know I want to keep a hold of a lot of that stuff. So I know you guys offer a service to help people with that. So tell everybody what you can do with those kind of things.
Well, first, let me talk to the audience. I'm looking at you. If you have VHS tapes in your house, you need to bring them to me today. Okay? VHS tapes degrade extremely quickly. So I would say I got mine transferred 10 years ago, and they were probably 20 years old, and they were already degraded. Like we're already missing bits and pieces of our wedding and stuff.
Oh, man.
Hate to give away my age here, but maybe those timelines weren't quite right, but close. So yeah, if you have VHS tapes, get them transferred. Even things like CDs, DVDs. Computers don't come with those drives anymore. Yeah. So you want to get those transferred onto flash drives so that you can take that digital file, back it up to the cloud, and make sure that you have that available.
Yeah, I don't even have a USB drive on this anymore. It's all USB-C and everything on my MacBook now. So
silly Apple. I love Apple, but that is one thing that annoys me.
Well, they do offer a dongle that you can connect.
Yeah, thanks. For an extra $40.
Exactly. They got to make their money somehow. It's not like they're one of the most profitable companies out there.
Exactly. And I'm an Apple fan, but that is definitely something that drives me crazy.
I am right there with you. So, you said something earlier, and I want to touch on this a little bit more because I know I talked about you liking to geek out about it, but you mentioned that you're an Evernote Certified Expert.
Yes.
So what does that mean specifically?
That means I've spent hours and hours and hours in training from Evernote where they teach us all about all the different features, how to best utilize Evernote. I personally bring to the table being a professional organizer too. So not only do I know the technology inside and out, I know basic organization principles that will help you organize your Evernote as well. And then on top of that, they have monthly calls with us, constantly sending us emails. We find out about the new features ahead of time.
Nice.
There's a really exciting one coming up that I'm not allowed to tell you about yet.
I keep getting people that are coming in and giving me like teases for things coming in the future.
I can't tell you, but it's so exciting. I mean, if you geek out over stuff like I do, it might be exciting for you too. I don't know. But they keep us up to date on what's happening. And then as they release new things, they have trainings as well.
Awesome. And I know you do some personal, do you like do one-on-one training? Do you do like group training, coaching? How does that work?
Yes. Yeah. All of the above. Anything and everything. Sometimes I offer Evernote workshops. I do a lot of one-to-one as well. I'm happy to answer quick questions from anybody all the time. So very nice. I just like to talk about Evernote.
Yeah. Evernote is one of those things that is ever changing, ever growing. So even if somebody thinks, I know about digital organization, it's probably good to get a refresher every once in a while, right?
Yes. And if you used Evernote back like 6 years ago or older, I would say give it another shot. As a lot of companies, as they grow, they have issues. Evernote went through a period of time a few years ago where they struggled. They had some change in leadership. They had some issues with the software not being consistent, and they have gotten their act together, and they are constantly adding new features now, and it is amazing. They're growing exponentially again, and it's a very strong product. So if you've tried it, had some issues, and gave up on it, give it a shot again.
Good to know. That's definitely one of those things that I'm constantly looking for innovations, adaptations, any kind of thing that I can do to give my business more efficiency in any way. So I'm constantly looking at that stuff. So I know Evernote was one of those things in the past that it did some of the things that I liked really well.
Right.
So that may be one of those things I need to get back into and look a little deeper.
And it's not the only note-taking app. I mean, as much as I love Evernote, I like all the note-taking apps. So there are plenty of other ones that you can test out there. OneNote, if you're already paying for Microsoft, it is free.
Yep.
It's not superior to Evernote. I think Evernote's better, but it's free. So that's something to consider. There's another one called GoodNotes that I actually use for my journaling. You can take your Apple Pencil and write on PDFs on your iPad.
Ooh,
and so that's kind of cool. That's one thing Evernote doesn't do. Hopefully soon, but that's not my teaser. So,
I was like, did we just get the exclusive?
No, you didn't.
No, we didn't.
But there are other note-taking apps out there. There's Notion. There's Google Keep now.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at my notes right now on Google Keep on things that I do, and it does a lot of great things. It does some of the cool stuff you do, but it doesn't have the cool calendar integration. It doesn't give me the opportunity to turn things into tasks. I'm like, oh man, I'm missing out on some options here.
You are, for sure. The thing that's good about a note-taking app, what I say is it's really my brain on paper.
Yes.
Any idea I've ever had, I write it down. I put it in there. Ideas you can clip from the internet, travel planning, anything you can think of, you can forward emails into it, attach it to your calendar events, anything you need to remember. You can write it down, put it in, or, write it down, meaning type it in, scan it, put it into Evernote or any note-taking app. And it really does help you remember things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize just how easy it is to increase the storage that they may have. You get a Google account, and it gives you a couple, I think it's like 25 gigs or something free automatically at this point. I pay like $10 a month, and I have a terabyte of space that I never even come close to utilizing, but it's there, and I know that I've got it. And I actually have a couple different services where I pay for additional storage, and it's amazing how much stuff that whenever I converted it into a digital place to keep it better organized and threw it all in there, I thought I had all of this stuff that was going to take up all the space, and I still have tons and tons and tons of room to utilize.
Right. I feel the same way, and actually I pay a little bit extra for several different ones as well. Yeah. But one of the things that I look at when I'm working with my clients is what services are you paying for? Do you need them all?
Yes.
Because I'm all about simplifying, storing things in a manner that makes sense, but doesn't cost that much money every month.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I think people probably could utilize some digital organization on, is looking at those services and saying, hey, what could I get rid of?
Right. What overlap is there? What am I not actually using that I thought was cool? Yeah. A new shiny tool that I paid for and now I really don't use it.
What am I paying for that I forget I even have?
Exactly. We can make a spreadsheet for that.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Amy, I think this is some fantastic information, a great brief overview of some simple digital organizational skills that people can start utilizing that I think are super effective and super useful in their day-to-day life. Is there anything else specifically that we didn't touch on that you think is just absolutely important for people to know about?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the one little thing that we barely touched on, I guess, would be the media conversion.
Yes.
Photos as well. So if you have printed photos out there, if you consider fires, floods, tornadoes, you want to get those backed up. Also, how many times do you go and you dig in your bin for a printed photo? Mm-hmm. Probably hardly ever, if none. So if you really want to enjoy those photos, digital is where it is.
Yeah.
Put it out on social media. Put a slideshow on your TV when you're not watching Netflix. I mean, enjoy your pictures. If you have them, what's the point of having them if they're just in a box?
Yeah,
Enjoy them.
I have a beautiful book that was put together for our wedding. I've got a nice album of all the photos we took on our honeymoon in Maui, and I can't tell you the last time I've looked at either of those things.
Right. But how often do you see pictures pop up on your phone or your computer?
Or the fact that I get memories on Facebook
Right.
of these things that are going on. That is something that I absolutely love. Like, I'll open up my phone from time to time and I'll get a little thing that says, hey, here's a slideshow we put together for you. And it's memories of the kids over the years.
Right. And if everything were scanned in, you would get more memories from further away than what, 2004?
Exactly.
When we all got digital cameras?
That is accurate. That is one of those things that I think is immeasurable of how much benefit that can bring to somebody's life, because
Right.
it really, without even a thought, it just brightens my day to see
Right.
those memories popping up.
And if you take all of grandma, when grandma passes away, take all the family photos, all of a sudden, all 25 family members get a copy.
Yes.
Instead of dividing and conquering, right?
Uh-huh.
So
love
it's
that.
really valuable for families to retain family history.
And that's something that would be another service that I would say is, if you're in a position, unfortunately, we're all going to be there at some point where we have a loved one who passes away.
Right.
Why not think about going ahead and hiring Amy to come in and help you digitalize those photos so everybody can have that information
Right.
and all of that data and everything? I think that's a fantastic option that, is often overlooked by a lot of people.
Right. Why let things rot away in a closet when you can enjoy them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Amy, I appreciate all this information. I know there is so much that you and I could talk about forever and ever and
Yes.
ever. But I know you've got an appointment and I've got a meeting I got to get to as well. So thank you so much for coming in. These are fantastic tips, and I know that I even learned some things today.
Yay.
And I feel like I'm a pretty efficient guy for the most part. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hey, this is Aaron Luttrull. Thank you so much for checking out the Aaron Advantage podcast. If you would like to be a guest, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. We're always looking for other people to interview.